First thing to say is that if people don't go and buy it, the future of the ABC
is in peril.
Is bleak indeed.
It is.
How is that different from now?
Well,
we're trying to fight.
It's worse than now
and get some money together for
because the money from this DVD is already factored into the budgetary projections for next year.
Oh.
So if they don't sell a hatful of these things, there's going to be a lot less regional weather.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, no, it has been pretty clear lately. There has been a lot less weather.
That's right. There's already less weather, but there's going to be less than that.
Yeah, I can understand.
It'll be just fine and mild.
Yeah.
For the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, some people would say. So let's talk about some of the operational matters. What are the operational matters that have been occupying your mind in the last 12 months or so? Is it the performance of the government?
The government have been terrific. I mean, let's face it, this has just been a golden era for
It has. They have hit
really.
a purple patch since Tony got in there. It's coming apart in his hands to a degree at the moment, but they've had a really good run.
Oh, it's been fantastic.
The media have been, I think, broadly supportive until yesterday.
Outstanding. Yep.
They've turned a bit now, but I can't imagine more support.
Especially from all of them.
Yeah, especially from all of them.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah, and but we are, of course, responsive in the same way that the broader public, which includes us,
well, we're a tactical response.
We are a tactical response unit. We look at what we're presented in the news and current affairs and sport and everything else kind of feed on various media, including onlinery, and we respond, I would think in pretty much the same way that the broader public responds. We believe some things, we don't believe others. We think these questions should be asked over here. We don't know why that bloke's still got a job, etc.
Responding is a tactic in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it can be, and of course these are the things, as I say, that normal people like us are talking about at water coolers and so on. So that's
barbecues.
When someone responds, the public needs to be wary of that because they could be being led down the path.
What, in this country? Michael,
I think
please.
that's very unlikely.
That's
Michael,
very un-Australian. You're clearly not part of Team Australia, Michael.
and fiercely independent media sector.
Sorry, do you want to repeat that again, John?
A free, Brian, and fiercely independent media sector.
That's a
very competitive. They're both competitive.
Yep, both competitive.
They're both fiercely competitive.
Fiercely competitive.
And truth and quality are their watchwords.
Do you think there's room in Australia for both of them in the media sector?
Well, that's an interesting question. The market will decide, as with pretty well everything in Australia, and of course the ultimate market is an election.
Are you talking about the ABC and SBS, or are you talking about newspapers?
Yes.
Just want a bit of clarification here.
Well, I find it hard to, because some conversations aren't able to encompass all of them in one conversation. So let's start with newspapers, and if we have time, we'll move on to the others. But,
look, I've got a basic thing about newspapers in Australia. There are two things you can believe in Australian newspaper: the price and the date. And if you're reading the national paper there, you'd be checking that on a half-hour basis.
Yeah, you'd want to be careful of the date on the national paper.
Definitely.
No.
John, Clarke and Bryan Dawe, were you shocked yesterday at the hard line of
we are
questioning?
shocked
We're
all
shocked
the time.
every day.
Day.
And what particularly yesterday?
The hard line of questioning by Karl Stefanovic of our Prime Minister?
Well, it's...
Did you think that was unfair?
Oh, no, I didn't think it was unfair, but I do think that when the Prime Minister is in certain of his modes, any questioning is hard questioning.
You've got to love people who let people off the hook for years, and then when they get a whiff that the tide may have turned...
Oh, any bit of blood in the water.
Yeah, need a bit of blood. So they mark out the jugular and they go for them. It's pathetic.
Okay. Well, so what other operational matters, if you can mention any, are encompassed in your new DVD?
Everything that has happened since 2011, and we've had about 19 governments, I think, since then.
Yeah.
We've had state governments, we've had international sport, we've had the G20 here. Mm. Every single thing that has happened anywhere in the universe is forensically dealt with in this microscopically, comprehensively forensic work.
Have there been moves, with the cutbacks to the ABC, have there been moves to shut you down? Because obviously you do a lot of damage to a lot of people.
Oh, Michael, wash your mouth out with soap and water. Really?
How would we know?
They never talk to us.
I suppose check the shop front of the local ABC shop, and if your DVD is not there...
You won't have a local ABC shop anymore, Michael.
No, we've made a bit of an efficiency dividend there. Isn't that interesting? It's called an efficiency dividend.
It's an oxymoron, that, isn't it, really?
Efficiency dividend. I remember when they fired a lot of people. I was living in England in the 70s, and a lot of people got fired, and they weren't unemployed. They were redeployed.
Redeployed, I love.
Yeah, they were redeployed, which meant they'd been fired.
I've not seen that term used recently in onlinery, as you referred to it before.
No. Well, just wait; it'll be along in a minute. If there's, if you miss a bit of spin, don't worry, there'll be some more along.
Coming.
How did Australia acquit itself at the G20?
Well, it was an interesting thing because Tony gave them a talk when they first got here about the brilliance of what he'd done, and then they gave him a bit of a talk about some of the... He'd made a couple of spelling mistakes in what he said, and they underlined them and pointed them out and wrote "See me"
later
on it. Later, see me after school.
And they wanted to check what dictionary he was using as well,
That's
I
right.
presume.
Well, he wouldn't be using a dictionary.
That's right.
Michael, please.
And when he went to get on his bike, it wasn't there.
Okay. And I also need to ask you about the performance of our federal opposition leader, Bill Shorten. Do you think he's taking it right up to the government at the moment?
Taking what up?
Hang on a minute.
Michael,
What was the name, Michael? Hang on a minute.
Bill Shorten.
Is it Shorten?
William
Bill
Shorten.
Yeah. Mr. Shorten.
Not a name I know.
No. Is he the guy on that missing persons list that we saw this morning?
He's got the high forehead with a sign of intelligence.
No, is he...
No, it's not
don't recall him.
No, not a opposition. You said, an opposition leader.
Opposition leader,
a leader. That would mean a leader in some form of.
Oh no,
I've seen
it written down. Yeah. I'm sure what I'm referring to.
It's an interesting idea. When's it coming in, Michael? We should look out for that, Brian. That should be perhaps a subject we could deal with.
Yeah, we could.
Well, that brings me back to my question. Instead of applying it to newspapers, let's apply it to governments. Is two sides of government too many? One too many?
Well, we've had an election in Victoria the other day in which the voting public decided that in some areas neither of those sides was at all interesting, and they wanted some more sides. And they didn't like this business of being told that you've got a choice between Tweedledum and Tweedle Even Dumber, that they actually wanted to vote for
someone interesting,
somebody who lived there, knew stuff and gave a toss.
Yes, okay. And what about the Senate?
Christopher Pine.
The Senate.
The Senate. Oh, yes.
Right. Is that just obstructing the work of the government at the moment?
The work of the government. Could you just explain that?
Well, that's another oxymoron.
It's like Microsoft Word.
In structural terms, of course, the Senate is simply an upper house. They need to get things through, and one of the purposes of an upper house is to be a house of review. Matters are being reviewed, and that's what it's for.
If they actually pass anything, they've got nothing left to review, so they've got no job?
What I'm saying is that they're perfectly within their right to do what they're doing, and even if for no other benefit, it's wonderful to see Christopher Pine dancing. He's such a beautiful mover.
Isn't he?
And for this stage of the season, he's going absolutely beautifully. He's also petitioning himself to not pass a bill he voted for the passage of.
See, that's an Adelaide thing, John.
That
is an Adelaide thing.
It's convoluted.
It is brilliant.
I think it's very simple. I mean, it's a gorgeous thing.
As is he.
Hang on, could you just hang on a sec? Shorten.
Bill Shorten.
Is that ringing? It's not ringing a bell.
Opposition.
I'll send you an email. I've got a picture of him.
What opposition?
I've never seen one.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
What's the Christmas party going to be like at Parliament House this year?
Well, I think that...
and have you been asked to entertain?
We have not been asked to entertain. I think Jackie Lambie's probably the entertainment, isn't she?
Oh, well, there's room for two acts.
Well, I don't know that there is. Jackie doesn't want two acts. She wants just the one. She says, when asked how long her act is, she said, "How long have you got?"
Yeah.
So I think she's got it covered.
She has.
And I'd say the whole thing would be, I don't know about well attended, but I hope there's someone there.
If they cut the the parliamentary Christmas party this year. Would that be enough money to pay for the increase in Defence Force wages?
Yes.
Easily.
If they cut anything at the Parliament, have you seen the Parliament building?
It's quite big.
I think if they took one bolt out of it, it would help pay for. I mean, it is
Or the lawn. Take the lawn away.
hubris. It is absolutely ridiculous. I went there in the foyer. You could put a driving range in there. It's really, as if the quality of decision is going to be superior if you have it in a venue, the size of the Reichstag. It's just not an argument that works.
Well, John Clarke and Bryan Dawe, I wanted to ask you more questions, but I've had them vetoed. I've just had an email from ASIO and said that you're not allowed to talk about them, even though they're in the DVD. And it's got to be left to experts.
Surprised. Well, Michael, you've got got yourself into this.
Yeah, it's your own fault.
Yeah, I can't say more than that.
No. Now, hang on, short.
So if I leave you, I'll sign off and say thanks very much.
No,
and
we'll
you can
work this out.
No, we'll look this bloke up. It's been most interesting talking to you.
Yeah.